everyone, welcome back to Rhythm Railroad. So as you can see, I've moved on to my next project. I kind of bounce around as I'm building things in my layout, and I felt inspired to come back to this, which I had already started probably about a year or two ago. But I got into it and I just started going with it, and then before you know it, I was doing a lot. So I wanted to make a video before I get too far, so you can see what was added. So originally this was supposed to be, well, it is supposed to be Finch paper from the D&H line, which is actually a short line that goes into Glens Falls, New York. Finch paper looks nothing like this at all. It's much bigger, it's much more modern looking, but I just wanted to give a hint of like a paper company, just like Finch paper, on my layout. And I had already reserved this area for this particular building because I always wanted this building. When I was doing N-scale stuff, I had it in N-scale, but I wanted to make sure that I had the full structure in HO, and since they're so large, you need a lot of space to put those in. So I was able to put it here, and anyways, I'm glad I included it in my layout. But it is the typical Walthers, that everybody tends to use. Although I did modify it because I wanted a functioning gate, which we're going to get to in 1 second. What I've been doing is basically creating everything in front of the building. So this whole platform here, this whole pad, and everything kind of like next to it and behind it. So obviously I haven't done that much in the back here, just kind of paint, made it look like kind of, dirt. I added this water tower here, and then I kind of followed the dirt look over to the side here. But what I've done most of the work on is here in the front. And this is basically what I do in most of my industries. When I create a pad, I just take some of the Home Depot all-purpose joint compound stuff that you would use for sheetrock, and I just basically smooth it out. I level it out using guides. So in this case, I used kind of like styrene. It's like square stock, but they come in strips like this. So this particular size is pretty much as high as the Code 83, Code 70 track that I have in place. It's a microengineering Code 70. And the number of that styrene square stock is 186. So yeah, I bought a bunch of these, and I was able to basically frame out where I wanted the pad, and then I just took a bunch of that joint compound and spread it out, and then I took a hard like metal straight edge and just kind of started smoothing it out, so it all ended up being level, and it was pretty much at track height, so you didn't have a lot of plaster on top of the tracks. It was just basically you were scraping it off the tracks and the styrene. So that worked out nicely. As you can see, it's nice and level for the most part, and the tracks I was able to embed while I was doing that, and then I basically just carved out the spaces for the flanges on the locomotives and on the rolling stock. And then the way I painted it, I know I should tint the joint compound first and then apply it, but I'm too lazy to do that, so I just go with the white, and then I end up painting on top of it. But I use a lot of paint so that it kind of seeps in. So I did 2 layers of this concrete stuff by Wooden Scenics. The number is right there, if you can see it. This thing is not focusing very well. Oh, there you go. So C1217, and it goes on pretty light, but I wanted that light look of concrete because I knew I was going to stain it with some kind of wash. So this is basically just, like a grimy black type thing with water. I just water it down a lot. And I actually added alcohol, rubbing alcohol as well. I seem to be getting better effects with alcohol than water. And then I took a sponge and I kind of spread it out everywhere, the black, grimy black. And then I went back with the sponge and just kind of dabbed at it to create that more spotty kind of look over here. The only thing I was not happy with is when I pushed the ink, the wash through, I created these like streaks. So I was able to mask them over here a little bit with the with the dabbing, but I just never got around to this. So I'll probably work on that a little bit more. I might even add like a light tan or a light brown to kind of give it a little more of like a dirt look as well. And then I just went back and put some masking tape down and added these safety lines, which is pretty easy to do. But I don't like that they're so bright. They're really yellow. So I'm going to tone them down a little bit with a little weathering, you know, so they don't stand out so much. I am going to try to put these jersey barriers basically on the perimeter all the way through. And then, you know, I might put 2 more here. But what I imagine is that this continues, that this entire pad kind of continues out, and that the trucks kind of come in this way. You know, they pull up and then they back into their bay, and vice versa when they're picking up. But, you know, that's why I took the plaster or the joint compound all the way out to the edge here, so it looks like it kind of like keeps going. On the side, like after the pad, I'm basically just gonna make this like a very grassy dirt ballast, you know, like very unkept kind of industrial look. And I am gonna make like almost like a road here that kind of like peeks in for a little bit and then just kind of disappears over there. So I'll put some guardrails and things like that in place. I painted the lead, very, very short lead into the industrial area. But the industrial area becomes kind of like a short line anyway. Kind of like the way Glens Falls is, where it comes out of Fort Edward and heads west, I guess. And, you know, all these industries are in Glens Falls, including Finch Paper. So, that's about it. I got this truck, which I cannot remember the company. Oh, there you go. Company is Burkina. I don't know if you can see that. Let me just put it down on its side for a sec so I can zoom in. There it is. And I saw these at the show at Springfield, but I had already purchased this one. And when I saw them there, I was glad to see that they were so popular over there as well. I really love how they look. The details are really nice. And I figured I'd put it in like that so it looks like it's coming in to pick up that trailer there. So the interior I had already detailed. You know, I've done videos on what's inside and the things that I did, but what I did add is ballast on the inside of the track here. It's still drying, that's why it looks a little shiny. But what I noticed in pictures is that if there is ballast inside industries like this, it tends to be very like high, like almost over the ties. I don't know if that's so you can walk on it easier or what, or if it's just because they over ballast it or whatever it is, or, you know, I don't know, but I went with that kind of look. So I went over the ties for the most part. I mean, I got to go back and touch it up. But everything kind of works. I'm still getting rid of some of the extra paint and stuff that gets left over from when you're doing the work on the tracks. But let's see if this little switcher can pick up. The cars that are in there right now. Lights might flicker a little bit because, like I said, I'm still trying to get the paint and stuff off the tracks, but not bad. So I just love the way this looks. I love little industrial things like this, where it's like simple, just one track in, one track out. And this is actually becoming a separate job on my railroad for sessions, where not only is this industry accessed or serviced, but there's a little spur there, there's another industry there, there's another one there, and then you get to the yard and there's a few more industries in the yard over there. So all of that is territory of the little short line here, which I consider kind of like the Glens Falls area. And yeah, so all right, so that's working. That's nice. So then I'll go back in here and show you kind of inside a little bit. It's easier to see from here without the cars. So there's like a paper rolling machine back there. Little forklift with some guys walking around. And I made a little platform up here. I'm not sure what it's going to be for, but maybe for like there's some like equipment up there that they keep. So, and then I took a lot of the brick, those paper brick Volmer things that you see out there, and I kind of tried to wrap all the walls, including up there, with the brick. So I think that adds a lot. I'm probably gonna add more now that I'm doing more detail. I'll probably add more like at the wall in the back there, and then around the windows back there, which I never got to. The staircase, I'm not done with it. It's just basically bare plastic right now. I got to paint it and put the railings in, but I did have to cut a hole in the plaster because I realized that it was too high. So once I cut the hole, obviously it fit perfectly, and you can barely tell that it's actually in the plaster. So that's new. The mechanism for the door or the gates that I've shown this before in other videos, but basically one of those Legos that you can put into motion with little motors and gears and stuff. So it's kind of simple. It's I don't know what you call this, but it's like a reducer, a gear reducer or something like that, where it spins, and then there's another big gear inside that spins this way, which then grabs onto the teeth here and it pulls the gate down. The teeth, or this ratchet type thing, is glued onto the gate, so that's why the gate comes down. But what's driving the whole thing is a little servo, typical 9G, I think that's what they're called, servos that I took the mechanism apart and I made it so that when you turn it on, it just keeps spinning. It doesn't stop like a typical servo, goes like this and stops. This just makes the motor just keep going around. I'll try to put a video up on how I did that, but you can probably Google that. That's easy to find. So when I push the toggle switch down, basically the mechanism goes to work and it pulls the door down. So that's what you see, right? Now, I had to add an extension on top of the building because of this. Once the gate is open, this is actually sticking out the top. So what I did is I just scratch built this little cover, which looks like a little industrial add-on type thing, and that just basically pops in over that stuff. I'm not going to put it in now because I'm doing work, but that slides right in, and you don't see this, and it looks like part of the building. So that's what I did there. As far as the side of the building, I want to make it look very unkept. So maybe small trees, some grass, dirt. I'll probably put some like old pallets and containers and whatever, tanks, whatever. So just junk. I'll probably make a little landing here, a little pad for the door. And the back, I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. Probably more kind of like abandoned type stuff. Or maybe like boxes and old paper rolls and things like that. But yeah, so that's basically it. That's what I've been doing with this little project. And as I add more stuff, I'll keep recording the videos like I did with the grain facility and with the lumberyard and other projects that I've worked on. But don't be surprised if I leave this like this and go to something else, because that's what I tend to do. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care.